Will housing prices in the Twin Cities crash again? Here's a simple answer. Of course they will. It is unrealistic for us to think that, hey, housing prices are always going to forever continue to go up. There is going to be a time when housing prices go down. It is unrealistic to think that for the end of eternity, housing prices will continue to go up. But I think understanding what principles or what things need to be in place for housing prices to go down will give you a good idea to be able to forecast when that's going to happen. And also, how far are we from that actually happening right now? So, I mean, Josh, when it comes to what we have right now, I think the easiest thing we can go back to is like, when was the last time we had a housing market crash? What did it look like? Tell me how this market in 2026 is different than the 2006 market.
Completely opposite of what depression of early 2000s, what this market looks like. Of a month supply I've talked about before was we were 18 to 24 months. There was significant job loss. There was unemployment was through the roof. I mean, you listed your house on a Monday and you better be reducing it by Friday or the next week because the market was reducing that fast. There was a 50% loss of equity in houses or 50% lost in sale price. So prices just went down significantly. Average days on market were up. Month supply was up. It's completely opposite of where we're at in today's market.
When it comes to what's opposite about it is this of like when it comes to prices in the housing market, it's this. It is supply, is how many homes we have for sale, and demand. How much demand is there for those homes? A house is worth as much as somebody's willing to pay for it. And I hear this, it's like, no one's ever going to be willing to pay more for a house. I was like, sure, in theory, but also your dollar is worth less than it used to be. If you would have told somebody in 1990 they would have had to spend $7 on a loaf of bread, they'd be like, I would never buy that bread. It's not that bread is all of a sudden we're spending more for bread kind of thing. It's the fact that that dollar is worth less. So you know what happens to the housing market when it comes to prices in real estate? When inflation goes up, housing prices go up just because that dollar is worth less now. So I think that's the big thing to understand when it comes to prices. But when it comes to, hey, we're going to have a crash again, what would we need to see in the marketplace for a crash to happen again?
Significant job loss, very high unemployment. The government lending has put so many stoppers in to make sure buyers are more qualified now than they used to be. I mean, the comment we had when I started in this business is if you could fog a mirror, you could get a loan. And that is no longer the case anymore. So there's a lot of stoppers and things that would have to break in order for this market to completely flip anywhere near what we had in 2006.
But I think the biggest thing is like population growth is increasing. Inventory and homes built is not increasing at the same pace, right? So we're just at a huge shortage of supply. Where is that supply coming from? Well, during the foreclosure crisis, where did supply come from? One, builders built more houses back then than ever. There's as many as they possibly could build. And also because people are buying them. And then also add that to foreclosures happened everywhere. We just have this double take of like new builds happening, foreclosures coming in. But right now, when it comes to foreclosures, how many foreclosures are we seeing in the marketplace?
I don't know.
Literally none.
Yeah.
Literally none.
I think our team has maybe sold one in the past 12
They're
to 18 months.
non-existent because partially why? It's like interest rates at 3%. Do you know what I mean? If you have a 3% interest rate, wage growth has gone up because inflation is happening. Like your house is so cheap for you to be in. Just don't move.
The golden handcuffs is what a lot of people are using of, I may not be happy with my house, but I'm going to stay here because it's cheap to live here, right? Affordable.
And I think that that's the thing of like, hey, what do we look for housing prices to crash again? It's inventory has to go up. Even if we do have a giant job loss, even if we do see a fair more amount of foreclosures, man, those housing prices don't necessarily mean that those are going to go down. And I think the biggest thing to indicate that is like, well, housing prices is so much more expensive. Here's what happened back in 2022 was when interest rates went from 3% to 7% in the span of 3 months. Now, I know we don't look at that as like, oh, well, housing prices didn't go up by 30% in the span of 3 months. But that's literally the same as if housing prices went up by 30% in the same month. Because you went from your monthly payment being literally almost like double. Like you lost 30% of your buying power per percent that goes up. We went from 3% to 7%. And what happened to the housing market? It didn't go down.
For a little bit, and now we're back to increasing.
But literally right after that. So if they're like the one thing that was like, this made this so much more expensive. People can't afford it. People aren't going to do it. Sellers are just just like, well, then I'm not going to sell. And then they didn't. And prices stay the same. So I think the biggest thing to keep an eye on of, hey, will housing prices crash again? Of course they will. Yes, they will. That is what is going to happen. Do we know when it's going to happen? No. And could that happen in 6 months? Like, yeah, I guess it probably could. But I think the most important thing is to understand is like, how far away from me that actually happening so you can make the right decision. To help you make this right decision, we have our Twin Cities 2026 Sell Smart, Buy Smart strategy plan that we can give to you that has all of our information in making the right decisions for your lifestyle and what you are looking for. So you don't have to worry about what the headlines are saying. You make the right decision for yourself. Click the link below to get access to it.